Hip hip tally ho, Joolz Guides here, in which I wander around London and tell you fascinating facts. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button and also the little bell, because that way you'll be notified when I upload a new one. And today we're in Bayswater, starting here by Victoria Gate, which is just on the edge of Kensington Gardens. From the 1380s it was known as Bayswater, Bayard's watering place or something. It's like either the Bayard family or a watering place for horses, who knows. Anyway, look, over here, it's a very cool little thing. If you come this way, just on the edge of Bayswater Road there, this is called Victoria Lodge here, and it used to be like a park keeper's house. I don't know if it might still be the place where the park keeper stays. I'm not sure what it is these days, but around the back of it is a really cool little thing. Look, come on over here, come over here. Over here on Bayswater Road, if you peek through the fence here, look, you can see all these cute little gravestones. There's over 1,000 of them. It's the pet cemetery. Started up in about 1881. Mr Winbridge, the park keeper back then, he had a friend whose dog died, so he agreed to help out by burying it in the garden there. And then it just became a bit of a kind of trend for well, more upper class local, mostly ladies had their pets buried here. Several birds, 3 monkeys are in there, cats, you name it. It got too full by 1903, so they stopped, but George Orwell described it as the most horrible spectacle in Britain. I think it's rather nice,
I can think of worse. I can think of worse.
Think it was so bad?
Bunch of telephone boxes.
A cluster. What's the collective noun for phone boxes? There's got to be one.
I think
set. We should invent one.
Yeah, we should.
Now we're concentrating on this side of Bayswater for this video. If you want to see all of that lovely little area in there, the Italian gardens we just walked past, I've got a whole video all about Kensington Gardens, which you can see, and that's very nice, with a beautiful song by Little Lost Lou. But here, now Simon, you might recognise this pub, because do you remember when we went to, and we finished one of the videos in that pub before, I think it was the one possibly when we were talking about Tyburn Gallows, yeah. Because the Tyburn Gallows, which is where people used to get hanged for like hundreds of years, that's just up there at Marble Arch, and there's been a pub here for over 300 years. Back in 1670 or 80, there was a famous highwayman called Claude Duval, and they say that he had his last drink here before being hanged at Tyburn. I mean, he was the one that spawned the myths about highwaymen being chivalrous and romantic, because he used to be kind to the people he was robbing. On one occasion, he even sort of offered only to take half of the gentleman's loot that he was robbing, on the condition the lady would dance with him. There's a lovely painting of him. And ever since that, people, ever since then, highwaymen had this reputation of being romantic. He was buried in St Paul's Church in Covent Garden, the one they do all the juggling outside of. So apparently he had his last drink there, so they claim, before they strung him up. And this is on the site of the Flora Tea Gardens and Skittle Alley, which most of it all got knocked down to build that stuff over there, which we shall go and see now. Spending all this time trying to remember facts and figures and stuff, and yeah, you walk around and it's all over here. I could just read it off here. But anyway, forget that for a moment. This was the grand centrepiece of the new development, a typical Victorian development here in 1857. I think one of the architects, his name was Sanction Wood. It's a good name. He developed so it's kind of that terrace there and here, and it's all supposed to be sort of shaped a little bit like a cross. And they built this wonderful church, which then suffered from some sort of fungal infection or something, and they had to knock down most of it. They've turned it into luxury flats. You got it in 1977. This is sort of occupies the area where the old tea gardens used to be. It was a part of that pub. But you see this hotel over here, the Columbia. This is where Haile Selassie stayed, you know, the Emperor of Ethiopia. Back in the Second World War, he was staying here. And the Italians had invaded Ethiopia, so he was over here or something. But anyway, Haile Selassie claimed to be descended from the Queen of Sheba and also Solomon the Wise, you know, King Solomon. And he adopted the title of Rastafari, which means prince or nobleman in the language Amharic. He then became the spiritual leader of the Rastafari movement in Jamaica. Some people consider him to be the second coming of Jesus. But in 1941, he was reinstated as the Emperor of Ethiopia. This was his headquarters during those sort of wartime years. As a new kind of feature on Joolz Guides, we're going to walk past a lot of pubs, and I'm going to ask Simon at the end which one he wants to go to. And I think that the Mitre is very nice. I don't have much to say about it, other than the fact
It does look like a contender, doesn't it?
yeah,
from
it's
the
beautiful.
outside?
It's beautiful. I love all the muses around here. It'd be fantastic to live in one of these. Just at the end of here, where are we? Brook Mews North. It's opposite here. Look, there's a blue plaque. I know I find blue plaques a little bit boring, but sometimes they can be quite interesting. I mean, Tommy Handley, during the war, he did a radio show called It's That Man Again. And he's one of those typical kind of music hall type, fast-talking comedians. You know, your end is in sight. Oh, good Lord, is my shirt tail hanging down again? Go strain your cabbage water. You know, one of those guys. And he used to work with comedians like Bob Monkhouse. He was first person recorded as saying, oh, you know, he's before Homer Simpson. The Homer Simpson didn't invent saying, oh. It was his catchphrase, actually. And also there was another lady called Miss Hotchkiss. She was another character in the show. They invented quite a few phrases which are in common parlance now, like ta-ta for now, TTFN. Sometimes you might text that, TTFN. I was listening to some of his stuff. You know, they are quite amusing, but in their old-fashioned kind of way. Whoops, Mr. Walker, there's a back to fall.
These are becoming less and less common. Vintage 1970s fencing.
Yeah.
You know, look at this. You don't see this much anymore.
No, you do
Julian.
that school mesh.
Yeah, you do that.
School mesh.
It really, the feel of that is very nostalgic.
Remember trying to get your toe in order to kind of climb over it. Yeah. You're right. You don't get much of that.
No, you don't. It should be preserved.
Listed. You should be listed.
This is a listed fence.
It's a lovely garden, though. So many beautiful gardens around here and lovely houses. You do get the feeling that the Luftwaffe probably missed most of this area. Oh, we're just arriving at Leinster Gardens. So join me in a minute around the corner. Look, these ones, Simon. Numbers 23 and 24.
That's
Do you notice anything funny about it?
Yeah, it's a fake.
It's the one. So the facade here is fake. So that one's obviously the Henry Hotel. It's got normal windows and everything. But next door, if you look at it, all the windows are sort of blocked in. And it just looks like a nice building that blends in with everything else. But actually, it's just a wall with a railway on the other side. It was built by the railway company in the 1860s, so as not to ruin the spectacle around it. Because if you go around the corner, we can go and check out what is actually on the other side. On the other side of that facade is this brick wall here. And if you look over the brick wall,
oh yes, you see the braces.
you can see the railway. And that wall there is the one that we saw from the front, which all looks nice and blends in with the lovely stucco houses or whatever. The backs of the houses don't look that nice, do they?
Look at that beautiful window frame up there.
Wonderful.
It is a nice building. There's a whole row of them.
Yeah.
I just realised. But this one retains its original window frames, so respect.
So I was thinking, how can I make these blue plaques a little bit more interesting? I mean, you may find them interesting, but I tend to find them a bit boring. But then I thought, well, look here, John Linnell. So I decided, I'll go and find out who John Linnell is, because it's quite nice. He was a painter, and look at the house he lived in. He knew William Blake, he knew Shelley, and he did some wonderful paintings of the Kensington gravel pits, which were actually just further along Bayswater Road there. Just gives you some idea of how the area has changed. If you look at these pictures that he's painted. So I wonder if he painted them whilst he was living here. Might have wandered around the corner.
I think it's probably safe to say that the Germans succeeded in this particular area.
Either them or
It's like you've got this, and then out of the blue you've got this.
Do you mind not talking badly of people's
I'm not
houses?
just saying it's modern. I'm just saying it's modern,
People who
Julian.
live here might be fans of Joolz.
Listen, I'm not knocking it. It's not a bad address.
Yeah,
but-
exactly. I'd take it.
I'm just saying, it's quite different to everything else.
It might have been the council, you know, it might not have been the German. Such a snob, Simon. Snob.
Oh dear. Aha, now who's this fella?
Oh, well, as you can read, it's Georgi Kastriotis Skanderberg, invincible Albanian national hero, instrumental in defending the Christians from the Ottoman Empire, 1400s.
It's a nice bust, actually.
It's quite nicely done, isn't it?
Well sculpted, isn't it? Yeah, it's nice.
We're on Queensway here, which actually used to be called Black Lion Way up until about 1830 when they changed it to Queensway after Queen Victoria, because she used to use it when she was staying at Kensington Palace. And this is, I remember I've been there. It's an ice rink. I've read that it was the oldest ice rink in London, I think. So from the 1930s. We've got a bowling alley. It's kind of weird that they have an ice rink just underneath a block of flats like that, don't you reckon?
It still is an ice rink.
Yeah. I used to go there. They practice things like dancing on ice there, I think. Yes. Anyway, let's carry on down here.
I do like a vintage curry house.
Yeah, this is the sort of thing you used to get in the local ads in the cinema. You know, come to the local Maharaja. Always rather liked Bayswater Station. It's interesting. Look at all the different buildings above. They're all completely different. I wonder what that sign says up there.
Safety razors and blades.
Is it?
And you have a child shaving her father's face.
The Merry Something Shaver, is it? Can't see. So we're going to talk about Whiteleys here because this is where it moved to in 1911. The original Whiteleys opened up in 1863, around the corner, but there's nothing there to look at really. So it was started by William Whiteley, who was a penniless Yorkshireman, arrived in London in 1863 with not much money in his pockets, and he started up this place which grew and grew. Ultimately, it was a place where royalty would come shopping from all around the world, and they offered anything from a pin to an elephant. It was like the Harrods of the 19th century. In fact, Adolf Hitler ordered for this. Maybe one of the reasons why Bayswater is such a lovely area, we were talking about it not being hit by the bombs, is because apparently he ordered for Whiteleys not to be bombed. He was hoping to take it over as his headquarters when he finally invaded.
So had you ever been in there yourself?
Yeah, I used to go there. I used to go there with my dad when I was young. Ultimately, it finished poorly for poor William Whiteley. So in 1907, a fella called Horace Rayner came in to his room or his offices and asked for a job, and he claimed to be his son. He went, no, sorry, sod off. And then this Horace Rayner pulled out a gun and shot him. What? Shot him to death. But it turned out that 30 years before, William Whiteley had gone to Brighton on holiday with a mate called George Rayner, and they took a couple of girls with them. One of them got pregnant and ended up bringing up Horace Rayner herself. But she always said to him, listen, if anything ever happens to you, go and look for William Whiteley, he's a millionaire, and he'll sort you out. He's your real father, okay? It's not the other guy. And so ultimately he came down here and but at the Old Bailey, they let him off. The jury was sympathetic towards him on the grounds that he had a really cruel father.
So that justified him shooting him dead?
Yeah, those are strange times, Simon.
Yes, very strange times.
That lovely cinema here at the end of Queensway. That's from 1932, isn't it beautiful? They actually covered up that sign in the 1960s, can you believe it? They only re-revealed it a bit later on, because now it's, of course, been turned into flats now, but nice. I love buildings like that, but we're going this way. Come on, mind that van, Simon. Look at that. That's a proper old school toilet, public toilet, in the middle of London. There's so few of these.
Still in use, yeah.
Yeah, it's still in use. Better not film down there. Now, are you feeling peckish, Simon?
Yeah.
Because I tell you what they do in Malaysia. For breakfast in Malaysia, they will have a roti canai. And I came in here the other day and I said, look, can I get roti canai? And he said, well, we only do it for breakfast, because over here we probably wouldn't eat that for breakfast. But anyway, let's go have one, because I want to check it out.
This is our breakfast.
Thanks very much. All right, so this is the chicken curry one. That's the dal. Wonderful. Look at that. Are you jealous?
We are jealous.
These guys are jealous. that we're having this because they're fans of Joolz Guides. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too.
Bon appetit. Seems a bit odd to me to eat curry for breakfast, but this looks terrific. And this is the chicken one. And I'll tell you what, it's rather good. Yeah. How about that? Simon, I feel bad making you film this, so why don't you get on and eat yours?
I shall dig in.
Look at this wonderful building from around 1920s. Is it 1929? Look on there. PB it says on there. Porchester Bar. This is the best surviving example in London probably of any Turkish baths. They've got wonderful. I'm sure I've seen in Minder. I'm sure Arthur Daly goes in there. And what I particularly like about it is the fact that they've still retained it for public use. Behave respectfully to all users at all times. Refrain from all sexual activity.
What? Oh, that's no good.
That's right. Hawkwind have played in there, Pink Floyd, Amy Winehouse. Anyway, hopefully they'll let us have a look around.
So it's a 1920s building. It was initially a sort of a bathhouse for people to come by and get themselves washed, and then they'd also get their clothes washed. And then over the years it got converted into this leisure centre that we see now. 1929 we added on the spa, and then we also added on the events hall, which stages many acts. We have people like Amy Winehouse who plays, Stormzy played recently, and a few variety of headline acts.
Ooh, this is starting to look a bit more.
So this is pretty much unchanged since early 1920s. These are the old hot rooms. This is actually as it looked over 100 years ago. You've got the original tiles, so using the old Roman terms, you've got the caldarium, the frigidarium, etc.
I'm absolutely roasted. This is inappropriate dress for a sauna.
This steamer will go up to about 48 degrees. That's where we've got the sauna. This will heat up to about 85, 90 degrees. You can get a little bit of a warm blast of that.
Oh, look at that! Yeah. Before I'll try to film this before the lens. Oh, look at that! Yeah, the lens is going steaming up. Yeah, that's nice. That looks very Scandinavian.
Okay, Jules, you've had your steam, you've had your smiles as well, and so you're roaring hot, and now you need to cool off. So it's time for the plunge pool. This is literally unchanged since the 1920s, and we are now probably one of 2 spas in the country that still operate in this old traditional way. You have men's days, ladies' days, and then Sundays is mixed. This is all the part of the hot-cold treatment, so there you go.
Okay.
Go on. That's it, all the way in. Just leap of faith, go on.
Are you kidding?
Nope.
Do people do this?
Get in your shoulders, under the, that's it. Good, Matt, well done.
You're going to come up close. Come closer.
You've seen that Hoff guy from the North. So this is your version of that, the Hoffman, isn't it? That specialises in cold treatment. Is that emotional?
The cold has reached my special place.
Ah, okay, that's good.
Oh no, but that does, I have to say though, that is very invigorating.
Can you imagine now if you went back into the steam for a final session, did that one more time, and then back to face the world?
I'm sure I've seen Minder in here, or loads of films.
Yeah,
I'm sure I've seen people
they filmed a few films in here. The actual Hatton Gardens film they did recently with Michael Caine in, one of the scenes actually took place in here. Yes.
King of Thieves.
Yes, story goes that some of the plan for that Hatton Gardens was actually hatched here in the spa.
A bit dishevelled.
Oh dear.
I know, but actually I have to say, that I might have to do that again, because that was really, I feel great now, actually. I have to say, I'm quite surprised. Felt terrible at the time.
We're part of Everyone Active, and we run the centres for Westminster Council. So we've got old lovely buildings like this, and we've managed to get a lot of money spent in this building. The last 4 years we spent 4 million on it to get it, sort of refurbished from end to end, but do it in a tasteful way that's fitting of the style of this grade 2 stylistic building.
People are swimming sensibly.
Yeah, oh, you get that here. We get nice wide lanes as well.
I'm quite a neurotic swimmer, I find, and I can't stand it when people break the swimming etiquette. Doing butterfly next to me really vigorously whilst I'm trying to do backstroke. But I see none of that here. I see very sensible swimming in lanes and taking it easy. Look at this. This is a magnificent hall.
Yeah. We do tea dances for over 55s. I mentioned earlier Amy Winehouse and Stormzy. We also had Kylie Minogue perform here and Snow Patrol.
And of course, Mr Creosote.
Right.
What is it, The Meaning of Life, that film? Oh,
to Mr. Chris.
Finland.
I think he originally asked for a bucket, but he was offered a waffle Thin Mint anyway. And then he would have exploded somewhere. Would have been somewhere over here. He would have exploded.
Projectile
absolutely.
vomiting.
But it was filmed here, where we're standing right now.
Do you feel better for that? The whole of area of Bayswater, there's lots of really lovely details like this. They think that's nice. These great tip. So it almost feels like you're in Italy or something. Do you know what I mean? We're here on Westbourne Grove, around the corner from here, and look, you see that little place over there, the Tiroler Hut. It feels like going to Austria, and they've got a big beer hall and people serving you in like national dress and lederhosen. You play the accordion and all sorts. We've got to go in there, Simon. I want to go in there. Looks, Kate Moss goes in there. Is that your dad over there?
That one is my dad, the one standing about. That's right. So he opened his place in 1967, and we've been going ever since then.
He's got a lot of character, your dad.
Yes, there's no one like him. He's been entertaining for over 55 years here now, and it's crazy.
May I ask how old he is? Is that cheeky?
86 in August, 85.
Oh wow,
Yeah.
He's got a lot of energy. I know that.
He's built this place up, and it's his home. And it's home to so many people in London, all over the world as well. So they come and get off the plane and straight to the hut. Yeah. We've had Boris Becker, Claudia Schiffer.
Oh, there's Hugh Grant. Kate Moss is here. Who's that? Wait a minute, is that John Barnes?
Muhammad Ali.
Are you telling me Muhammad? Is that Muhammad Ali?
Yes, that's his bodyguard. He's only 5'10".
Is that you with your bare chest out and everything? Is this you? Oh, look at him. He was a handsome man.
Mr. Little Atlas.
Hey. You haven't changed a bit.
Yeah, I know.
It kind of feels like you're on holiday in here.
Yes, it's like escapism. There's no windows. Once you're down, it's just really hard to leave. So people stay for hours and hours. Schnapps flows, the beer flows. Schnitzel, sausages, bratwurst, sauerkraut,
Okay.
Apfelstrudel, cheese fondue.
And this beer is
This is Stiegel, Austrian beer from Salzburg.
it's going down very
What
well.
I'm pouring here too.
Shows how much it's changed actually since the Cold War, I suppose, because in John le Carré's book, Smiley's People, I think there's a Estonian retired general lives down here, doesn't he? He's called Vladimir. And he lives in a dingy flat, it's described. I don't know how many dingy flats you get down here these days, but actually speaking of dingy flats, now where those red bricks are over there, that's where Peter Rachman, you know, the slum landlord from the 1950s and 60s, he had his offices in there. I don't know if it's actually the same as it was. They probably knocked down the original apartments. But anyway, his office was somewhere around here. And I believe he actually came as a refugee to London, and he let rooms to people, really squalid rooms. He'd divide flats up into really small areas, and if people complained about the conditions, he'd cut their water off and start threatening them and send big heavy people around with scary dogs and stuff. Somehow he managed to have affairs with Mandy Rice Davis and Christine Keeler, and he was a funny little looking man, a cross between sort of Eric Morecambe and Captain Mannering from Dad's Army. At this wonderful little square, Kildare Gardens. Nothing to do with Dr. Kildare, I don't believe, the 1970s TV show. What a lovely garden. Look at that. 3 different street signs. The modern one, Alexander Street. There's an older Alexander Street one up there. And then it's obviously changed its name. Is it Saint something Terrace? Can't read what it used to be. Anyway, Sunderland? Is it Sunderland?
Yeah, Sunderland.
Have you heard of Stiff Records? Here at number 32, Alexander Street, Dave Robinson and Jake Rivera, they started up Stiff Records. You might know them for bands like Madness were on Stiff Records, Elvis Costello, Ian Dury and the Blockheads, and then they also did the first, what was considered to be the first punk single, New Rose, it was called, by The Damned. And they did, yeah, Ian Dury, Hit Me With Your Rhythm Stick, Hit Me.
I'm pretty sure I saw a documentary, it was on YouTube, and you saw all these artists hanging out in that very room there. They all get on board a coach and off they go.
Oh, I
it
want
was
to
like
see
a
it. Do you
little
remember what
road
it's
trip
called?
movie.
I want to see that.
Obviously, we're talking the early 80s. Yeah, it was a lot more grungy and gritty back then.
Lovely around here, isn't it lovely? You can see why they film a lot of movies around here. Speaking of which, this number 1 here, St. Stephen's Crescent, this is where Rachel Weisz lives, the Rachel Weisz character in About a Boy.
You always talk about that bloody film about a boy.
It says a lot of it's filmed around London.
So anyway, this About a Boy.
Like
I knew you were going to say About
Louisa
a Boy. But I'm noticing some nice vintage steel, a rally racer from 1988, I believe.
Another one that they filmed around here was Alfie. Quite a lot of Alfie, the original Alfie, not the one with Jude Law, the one with Michael Caine.
The proper one.
It was, some of the scenes were filmed down here, and that's actually his flat, the flat where he stays with Jane Asher.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, he stays in there. There's a lot of talking to the camera. Oh, I like an older girl.
Yeah,
Does that
okay,
give you
yeah.
any trouble? Not a lot of people know that. I wonder if this was the remote corner of Bayswater that Oscar Wilde had in mind when he has Lady Bracknell say that the perambulator, which was abandoned with Jack in it, you know, in The Importance of Being Earnest, it was discovered in a remote corner of Bayswater. Could have been here. I like to think it was. Actually, look, the Prince Bonaparte, Simon, what do you think? Maybe a possibility for our...
Might be.
For our finishing.
Does looks like a good place.
Just walking along here on Chepstow Road, and over there at number 58 was where that Peter Rackman had his brothel. Nice fella that, you know, Peter Rackman. He comes across very well, doesn't he? We're on the corner here of Westbourne Grove and Chepstow Place. Anyway, that building there, in the 1860s or so, they had these cold storage facilities for fur. So when wealthy people who had fur coats wanted to put them away for the summer, they'd keep them in this cold storage facility, and it was called Bradley. So it was Bradley, I can't remember the name, but anyway, Howard Bradley sent me this information. He was the last member of the Bradley family to work there. He sent me all this stuff, all these pictures and everything. Hi Howard, thanks for sending me this stuff. I finally got around to doing this area like you asked me to. Because around 1896, the sons of the person who founded it turned it into an actual fur sort of manufacturing place. So they did driving gloves, driving coats, goggles and all sorts. And very important people used to shop there, like the Churchills. The wife of King George V, who was called Queen Mary, her memory was fading, so they had to change the phone number here to Bayswater 3456, just to help her with her memory. Until quite recently, they still had all this cold storage stuff down there. But now they've turned it into flats, of course. Apparently Richard Harris lived there. He and his wife were troublesome tenants, they say.
That's hardly surprising.
See, now we're here on Leinster Square, not to be confused with Leicester Square, as if you would. But you see that number 28, like in the basement there, number 28A, is where Sting first lived in London. When Sting came to London, he was living down there with, I think it was his wife at the time, Frances, and his son. But it was Trudy Styler was living a few doors down, or I think it was in this square that they first met. Anyway, they caught each other's eye and ended up going out with each other, even though both were actually already married. But yeah, it's quite interesting. This is where he first came, probably in the 70s, I guess. This is St. Sophie, the Greek cathedral here. Absolutely beautiful. It was consecrated in 1882. It looks amazing inside. which is probably why they used it as the St. Petersburg church in GoldenEye. You know Natalia in GoldenEye, the character played by Isabella Scorupco. She comes and hides out in here. It's probably supposed to be, I think it's supposed to be in Russia in the film. Quite a lot of the film GoldenEye was filmed in London, but actually set in Russia, funnily enough. But yeah, it really looks quite impressive inside. The new West End Synagogue, Simon, was consecrated in 1882. It's one of the oldest in the UK, which is still in use. Listed, I believe, for its Anglo-Jewish architecture. I like it. I like it. It's very nice.
It is.
Yeah, we're on camera though. There's a little camera that was spinning around.
There's a lot of security.
What are they up to? Yeah, nice. Very Victorian. Anyway, I say we go down the pub.
Good idea.
So there's a lot of choice.
There is a lot of choice. I think I do prefer the mitre. I think that. Yeah.
I've never been there, so let's check it out.
Yeah.
Cheers, Simon.
Cheers.
Cheers, everybody. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button if you like the videos. And you can always head over to my website, which is joolzguides.com, where you can buy my book or even some tasteful merchandise, which I'm sure you'll be very proud walking around wearing. See you next time.